Welcome back to another episode of Diamond Podcast. I'm your host, Alfredo Diamond, local realtor, entrepreneur, and community advocate. Welcome back. I'm excited for today's guest, today's show. It's something I've been talking to this gentleman about for a while now, and it's an honor to have him. He's someone that's influential to me, someone that's impactful to me, and definitely has to make an impact on our community. I want to welcome the owner of Whisenhunt Construction, Mr. Brian Ballenger. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you, Alfredo. It's good to be here. It's an honor and privilege to spend some time with you.
Oh, that means a lot, man. You look as sharp as ever. Love that jacket.
Yeah.
Nice coordination there.
Yeah.
So,
and I even did it myself. My wife had nothing to do with this.
There you
How
go.
About that?
You did a great job, Brian. Hey, thanks for being here, man. I know you're a busy guy. Man, we were talking, I don't know, it's probably about maybe a month ago. I ran into you or so, somewhere in there. And I never would have guessed this about you, but we kind of share something in common, but it's kind of conflicting because I'll never do it, and you're going to continue getting hours doing it.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, man. Skydiving, really?
Yeah, sure.
I'm intrigued by it. Tell me about that. That's exciting, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah. So you're asking about my skydiving experience. So it actually goes back to 2001. My children were small then. I guess I've always had kind of a fascination with it. So I got a few jumps in right before 9/11, and of course, that nixed it for a while because no aircraft were allowed in the sky. And I think I got one or two jumps in after that, but it boiled down to priorities. I had a business to take care of. It's kind of an expensive sport or hobby. And so I realized that, in order to keep my priorities aligned, I'm going to have to put that on the back burner. So I guess it was 2 summers ago, I had an opportunity to take a young girl that I kind of mentor, and she's involved with our Brighter Path organization. So she and I went together, and then that kind of sparked the renewed interest again. I got a few jumps in last year, and then last fall, I just felt like I needed to have something that I could take ownership of. And this is going to come across selfish, but with my life, the things that I'm involved in, the people that I serve, my whole life has really been dedicated to serving others, and I just felt like I needed a little bit of a break, something that I could go and do and enjoy. And to get my certification, I realized summer months, I'm so busy that I'm not going to be able to do this. So I actually set aside 2 weeks, just got back a couple of weeks ago. I spent 2 weeks in DeLand, Florida. I had in my mind that I'm going to go down there, mind over matter, and I'm just going to do this, and I'm staying until I get my certification. Well, it didn't quite work out that way.
Okay.
Come to find out, I don't fly like a bird. Exiting the aircraft's fine, the landing's fine, but I've got a lot of work to do to figure out body control while I'm flying at 120 mile an hour through the air.
Tell me about that. What do you mean?
Well, so imagine the slightest wrong movement with a body part that has a consequence. So I was constantly going into a left turn. That immediately becomes a left spin, one wrong move, and all of a sudden you're like rolling through the sky, and then not able to stop that. So the instructor, again, keep in mind this is all happening really, really fast. Your terminal velocity is 120 mile an hour. So the instructor would kind of have to dive in and grab a hold of me, let me get restabilized, and then let go again. So I got 9 jumps in, but I got a long way to go to get my certification.
Man, so help me visualize this. So you don't have enough hours in to jump by yourself, but you kind of are right now. Walk me through.
Yeah, so it's a solo jump, but you have an instructor that jumps out, that's right there with you. That way, if something goes wrong, they're going to grab a hold of you, keep you stable to the point you deploy your parachute, and then you're on your own.
So you're still somewhat connected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
With a little distance, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. It's crazy.
So one thing I do want to share about this, because I'm still trying to process this because it's kind of deep. My very last jump, and keep in mind it's DeLand, Florida. It's considered one of the best skydiving centers in the whole world. So there's people literally from all over the world. I met so many amazing people. But one of the instructors, I had never jumped with him, but every jump that you do is recorded. There's a video recording, so you analyze that to help figure out what you did right, what you did wrong. And so a real short, stocky Brazilian guy, he's probably about my age, he would always watch the videos with me, and he would kind of give me some pointers. And all the other instructors had left the room, and he comes up to me, and he kind of leans into me, almost getting in my space. And he's, a lot shorter than me, and he's looking up, and he goes, "You know what your problem is?" He said, "You're trying to control everything in your life."
Wow.
I thought,
wow.
What?
What? Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, what are you talking about? And he goes, "You're a man." He said, "Our problem is we try to control everything, and this is something, for you to master this, you can't control it. You got to let go." So I'm still kind of working through that, and it's kind of deep, because he was right. With what I do, a lot of the things that I'm involved with,
it's hard
you're
to let
taking
go.
control. Right, right. And that's, if you take that to a spiritual level, that's not how faith works.
Yeah.
Faith means you let go and trust. So I'm learning from this.
But, I want to just go back. I didn't want to cut you off. I want to go back earlier. So you said something, and it was just like nonchalant, like just brushed over. I don't want to brush over it. You said you wanted to get a few jumps in. Like, you just don't go do a few jumps. What is your mindset? How did you get no fear? Like,
I wouldn't say that. And I talked to several skydivers. They said if you ever get to a point where it's not in your head a little bit, something's wrong, because you're going to make a mistake. For me, I would be, I don't know if I'd say nervous, but a little bit anxious when I was on the ground. Once I step into the aircraft, from there, nerves settle, total focus sets in, and then you just do what you know you've got to do.
Wow.
Another guy I talked to, he said, for me, when the aircraft is climbing, he said, it always hits me at 8,000 feet. He said, it's just how it is.
Wow. Man, well, that's exciting, and it's got to be an adrenaline rush for you.
Yeah.
And
so it's pushing me mentally.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot about myself, obviously. So,
did you go through something? Did you go through anything that kind of made you want to do that? Because a lot of people I talk to that skydive, it's like they had something going on in their life. They're like, that kind of gives them a chance to let go, release. Is it yours? Is it solely, your the stress from your business and things like that, and just kind of having that thing for yourself?
Yeah. So back in 2001, that was in the fall months that I was getting some jumps in. And I had a static line jump, and it's one that I'll never forget. So this was in October. The crops, everything's, kind of a golden color. And I jumped that day. It was the evening, so you've heard of the golden hour. So the sun's kind of setting. When I was under canopy, it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had, just visually, but also I have to acknowledge it was very spiritual for me too.
Okay.
To be able to feel that close connection with God in His creation. It was absolutely silent. That's what I love about being under canopy, is it's just you and God's creation. I know a lot of people may not be able to quite grasp what I mean by that, but it's kind of, believe it or not, it's for me, it's kind of a spiritual experience.
I can see that. So, Brian, getting to know you better, man. Where are you from? I don't think I ever really got to talk to you about that. Where are you from exactly?
Yeah, so I was born here in Richmond.
Okay.
Went to Hagerstown Elementary. When I was in second grade, my parents bought a real small farm 3 miles north from where we lived. That put us into a different school district. So I went to Union Elementary and high school through 11th grade, and then we moved, came back to Hagerstown my senior year, so I graduated from there, and then went to Ball State.
Okay.
And really rather soon after that started a very small construction business. When I say construction business, it was basically a handyman service.
Yeah. So talked about that. So what inspired you to say, I want to work for myself? I want to do something I'm passionate about, obviously.
Right, right.
What inspired that?
Yeah, so I won't go into, because that's a big question. A lot of the things you do as a child, young adulthood, that begins shaping you, your thought processes. I've been a pretty independent type, even as a young child. I was kind of raised that way, had to be independent. So I'll never forget my very first job after college. I also went through the Indiana Military Academy through the National Guard. I was a commissioned officer, so
Okay.
I had a school to attend in Fort Benning, Georgia, my officer basic course. Got back, needed a job, so I really had a passion for construction. I don't know where that came from. I think maybe it's God-given. So I took a job and realized really quickly the guy that I was working for, he didn't know a whole lot, very unorganized, and I quite honestly, I don't deal with that well, especially
Obviously.
having that independent spirit
Right.
about me. It's like, wait a minute, the things he's asking me to do, I can figure this out.
Yeah.
I'll just do it on my own. And I wouldn't advise many people to take the route that I did, because really you need to develop your proficiencies, become very competent in what you do. I took a completely different path. I learned a lot really quickly because I had to. I mean, it was really about survival. By that time, obviously, I was married. Children, they're going to be on the way pretty soon. Fortunately, we have 3 daughters, and now have grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
So within 5 years of that time, I built my first house. So that's learning a lot in a short period of time. I just feel like it was, we all have gifts and talents, right? And that's been the talent that I've been blessed to have and able to use throughout my career.
So I want to come back to you building that house, but before, I'd like to know, so you said, I didn't know that about you, so you were in the service? How long?
Yes.
How long?
7 years in the National Guard.
Okay. And so fast forward to you built this house. So you were a handyman, you built a house, and I know nowadays you really specialize in commercial.
Correct.
What how long did it take for you to think that, I really want to focus on this side of the business versus doing residential?
Sure. So, when you start out small and humble like that, obviously it's going to take time to build those skills, build a business, understand how business works. A lot of that I learned, it's the school of hard knocks.
Yeah.
But I first was introduced to Keith Whisenhunt in 1995. He was on a project that he needed additional labor and construction services. So I went to work for Keith as a subcontractor. And again, that was rather early in my career. Worked that project for a few months, and then over the years, as Keith needed additional carpenters, I would supplement as a subcontractor to him. So over the years, just had that opportunity to kind of build that relationship, also learn a little bit more about the commercial side. And then in 2016, Keith called. I was a little bit surprised, I guess, that he would consider me, because I felt like that was quite an honor.
What?
Yeah, he was ready to retire, and I'll just be honest, he shared with me that he and his wife had talked, and I was their first choice, and really wanted me to consider taking over their company, buying him out, and allowing him to move on to his next chapter.
Man, that was amazing. When you got off the phone with Keith, and it sat in, and I'm sure you start talking to your wife about this. I mean, what was that conversation like? What was going through your mind at that point?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. For the probably 2 years prior to that time, I was at a point in my life and in my career that I needed a change. What I had been doing at that point been a really long time. I wouldn't say I was burnt out, but I'm not a very patient person.
Okay.
I love to be challenged, and I just felt like, I'm not saying I'd reached the pinnacle, but I was ready for a new challenge, something that would push me to be better, and I had realized that. So I guess what I'm saying is I wasn't satisfied, and so the timing was perfect. I was ready for the next stage of life. My daughters were, at that point, one of them was married, one soon to be married. So I had one daughter at home still. So it was just brilliant timing for me to be able to take on more in my life professionally. Because we homeschooled our children. We put a lot of time and effort into that. So earlier in my life, probably it wouldn't have been a good fit. But
There you go. Okay.
Timing's everything, I think.
Yeah. And you talk about timing, and everything has its challenges. I mean, were there any challenges with you transitioning into ownership of this business? Can you talk about how that happened, who was involved, what type of resources you have to have? Because earlier on, were you financially ready to take on an opportunity like this? What does that look like?
Sure, right. So I feel like I have to share this part of my life. For years, I struggled with this, that I really didn't want to share it. And I think part of that's maybe ego, pride. I think most business owners that you'll talk to, they'll share with you that, look, it's challenging, and sometimes things don't go the way you would intend or plan. So in 1998 and 99, I went through a really challenging period financially. I had my accountant and attorney both advised me to file bankruptcy.
Wow.
I just didn't feel like that was something I could do. None of my creditors asked for that. And I told them both, unless somebody forces me, I will not do that. I refuse to do that. And I feel like that one decision that I made consciously at that time, I've been, I don't paid back was the right way to put it, but I've reaped the benefits of that decision over and over and over again ever since. So when you ask, how was I positioned financially to be able to do that? So let's roll the clock back. If I had done that, what lender would have been ready to bet on me?
Right.
Because that's what lenders do. They're basically saying,
your credibility.
We believe that you have the ability to run a business and pay us back. It's that simple. So another factor was just networking. I look back earlier in my life, the people that influenced me, that were supportive of me, how that all comes full circle to prepare you for the next big challenge or opportunity in life. That was impactful. To be able to be at a point where obviously I'm making a very big step financially to be able to buy out a commercial company.
That's a whole nother skill set, because I hear you started out as a handyman, you're juggling your expenses. I know how that goes. You're a sole proprietor. Maybe you started an LLC. But a lot of those early days, you're keeping that you're putting that cash back into the business, right?
Exactly.
To be successful.
Right. Even to this day, quite honestly, I don't pay myself a lot.
Yeah.
It's all about reinvesting back into the business.
Yep.
That's been the model that I've taken. That's how I'll be able to retire, because I've, quite honestly, I can't believe it, but it's been 35 years.
Wow.
Always reinvesting back into it, and that takes a lot of discipline to do that.
Yeah.
Moderating your lifestyle to where, hopefully there comes a point, whenever I'm ready to retire, there's something there that I'll be able to go on and. When I say retire, I want to clarify that. I'll never
consultant.
Yeah, so as long as I have my right mind, I will never be completely retired. Yeah. I may not be working for a paycheck, but I'm going to be doing something, because you have to have something that moves you in terms of having purpose and being able to offer. And really, that's what moves me in life, is to be able to help others. So I don't know what that's going to look like exactly, but I know that I'll be involved in some way, some level, whether it's consulting, volunteering. I'll be doing something, giving back, because I'm not the type. There's no way I'll be able to just find a hobby and be satisfied with that. Skydiving would not be enough. You know what I mean?
Man, how talking about the hard time. People have been through. I've been through that, and you learn so much about managing your money. Like, you're at a time where you could have took the easy way out, but you saw a vision where you knew the impact down the road from where you were going with your vision. What keeping things open for what might come your way. That was a great vision. But when you think about how you navigated that situation financially, the tools you learned, How has that helped you take the ball and run with the business now to where it is at new heights now?
Right, yeah. So without that self-discipline and that vision looking forward, reinvesting into a very small business, as it was, years ago, I would not have been able to move to that next level, especially buying the commercial company. So, it's just being intentional, being dedicated, but also there's a lot of sacrifice to that, and being satisfied with it. Gratification really to me is not about today. It's how you look ahead. To be able to enjoy the days you have coming, and I see that through the family. My wife and I took parenting very seriously. We made the conscious decision early on to homeschool our children. A lot of sacrifices to be able to do that. But now I look back, we have 3 beautiful daughters that are solid, sound. They've got great morals. They've been blessed to marry wonderful men. 2 of them now have children, and we get to reap a lot of blessings with grandkids. I mean, it's kind of funny. I used to hear quote unquote old people talk about grandkids, and I think, man, they're just kids.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Well, now I
level.
totally get it. Once you experience it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and I think every grandparent gets that.
Spoiled.
Because it's amazing.
Yeah, I bet,
Yeah.
man. It's got to be a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
So you think about all your community involvement, your business. There's a non-for-profit that you've got too, right? You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So I had to share the story about the nonprofit.
Yeah.
You kind of have to understand what I went through in 98, 99, flat on your back. No, didn't seem like there was going to be any way out, but we worked through that. In 2005, I started feeling like I wanted to start some sort of mission, I guess, or opportunity for other children to experience what my girls were gaining. So in 2002, we moved to where we're still there. And my girls were all really passionate about horses. And that was an outlet for them to really be able to learn about responsibility. What does it mean to be committed? Understanding the consequences of action or also inaction.
Yeah.
Those horses are completely dependent. So that was a way for my girls to own something and really learn true valuable life lessons. And I saw the impact that it was having on them. And then you start thinking about all of the other kids that you know and the kids you don't know, and what challenges they're facing. How do I start a program that impacts more than just my daughters? That was in 2005, and so as a contractor, I start running the numbers, in my mind, designing a building to be able to run a program like this, and I kept thinking, wow, I can't afford this. There's just no way. I'm 5-6 years out of being told you need to file bankruptcy. I'm still not doing that well financially. We're still digging out of the hole, right? So in 2007, I feel like maybe twice in my life God has spoken to me. This was the second time. The first time was regarding that financial situation, but I'll never forget this, and I guess I enjoy sharing this story because I feel like it's probably one of the most impactful moments of my whole life.
Wow.
It was in, I think, July of 2007. I was mowing the yard. I remember exactly where I was at. And so keep in mind, 2 years now, I've been battling with God. That never works. God's relentless. And I just kept saying over and over, I can't afford to do this. That was my argument. And to a degree, it was true. But that one day on the mower, I was just driving along. That's where I get my thinking in. And I just kept saying over and over, because, again, God is relentless. He'd never taken this thought off my mind for 2 years. This program needs to happen.
Wow.
So the last time I said, I can't afford to do this, and again, I feel like God spoke this into my heart. He said, you can't afford not to do this.
Wow.
And I still get goosebumps every time I share this story. I just broke down. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Wow.
How is this going to work? But for the first time, I realized, remember the control thing we were just talking about?
Yeah.
I can't control this. This is a plan so much bigger than me, and we broke ground in late August. I mean, so really quickly I realized I don't know how this is going to work out, but God has a way. He has a plan. So that was in 2007. In 2 years, again, time flies. I can't believe we're going to be celebrating 20 years.
Wow.
And hundreds of kids have been served. I could just tell you story after story of the victories that I've seen families, grandparents, children be able to conquer their challenges, overcome their trials and their hardships through that. And again, I don't take any credit for this.
Man, I think it goes back to one of the first things you said about serving people. When I listen to your story, the nonprofit, you're an employer, your involvement in the community, and on and on and on. I think it's a common thing that, like you said, you're here to serve others, and you're definitely providing that. So with Brighter Paths, what exactly goes on there?
Sure, right. So my daughter could give you she's great at this. She could spout exactly in a very well-spoken manner what we do. But essentially, we through the horses, we take children that are facing various challenges. It could be mental, physical. I'm really motivated towards the children that are facing emotional challenges.
Okay.
And so we provide therapeutic opportunities for those children.
Okay.
So we have instructors, a lot of volunteers. I mean, in a given week, we have 20 to 25 volunteers that come. They help facilitate those lessons. So it's just
rewarding.
basically whatever challenge that child is facing through equine therapy, we're helping them overcome, whether it's emotional, mental, or physical.
Yeah, I've watched several shows about horses and being therapeutic, and that's amazing what you're doing. That's definitely inspirational. So where do you see what's the future for Brighter Path that you think is going on next?
Right, yeah, so great question. So in 2007 through 2017, it was just my middle daughter and I. My other girls were involved too, but my middle daughter really took a strong had a strong passion. She was very gifted with horses, but also she had just, I think, a God-given talent with children. And so she and I gave lessons, 4 to 5 nights a week for 10 years. And then in 2017, we were able to get our 501c3 nonprofit status, developed a board of directors. That was a big challenge. I'd never done that before. Starting a formal organization from nothing. I learned a lot.
Experience.
Yeah. Really from there, the program, we were doing good things, serving a lot of children, but now obviously it's so much more organized. I think it's having even a greater impact. So having the board meant that I'm not shouldering all of the responsibilities, trying to figure out everything, so it became much more formalized. We're able to market better. I think our programming obviously is a lot better. That has improved. Able to touch even more children. At one time, a couple of years ago, as part of a grant writing process, we had to look at the geography that we were serving, and I forget the exact number, but it was in the 20s, the number of zip codes we were serving. I was blown away by that. I just couldn't believe how far-reaching it had become.
Wow. Man, when you think about our community and your involvement in your business, is there anything out there trending that you want to discuss that you feel, man, if this really takes off for our city, this is going to impact my business?
Yeah, right. So we all understand the challenges, right? We can easily recognize the problems that we have. I don't want to focus on that.
Yeah.
I don't want to ignore it. I want to acknowledge the challenges that we're facing as a community, but I want to surround myself with the problem solvers.
Yeah.
Those that come to the table, have something to offer, recognize the challenges, but also how do we develop those solutions? And we've got an amazing group of people in this community, a lot of unsung heroes that are doing amazing things. oftentimes going unnoticed and unseen. But I'll get real specific. So there's huge momentum with downtown revitalization right now. Thankfully, through Earlham College, we have the Lilly grant, huge influx of dollars that are going to start at the Whitewater Gorge activation all the way up to, I think, is it 10th or 12th Street along Main. That's going to have a huge impact. There are other community organizations that are involved with that. So I think we're going to see a lot happening downtown that will have a rippling effect. Once the first investment happens, that's going to trigger opportunities for others to follow. So I think that's something for the community to be aware of and start following. It's very exciting. I think in the next few years we're going to see a lot of residents downtown. That will then stimulate growth with the business sector. So that's very exciting.
Are there any projects that your company's involved in associated with that?
Yes. So
awesome.
Currently we're revitalizing the Reedmore building. Very exciting. The community, I think, has strong attachment to that building. It's one of the icons, I guess. A lot of people, if you're from Richmond, you have memories that go back to yesterday, right, so to speak. So it's exciting to be able to be part of saving that building because, otherwise you let it go very much longer. Buildings have a shelf life, and if they're not given attention, we're going to lose them. And we've got a lot of amazing buildings downtown, architecturally, just the aesthetics. We're not going to see new buildings be built to that grand scale. I mean, think about the Nolenbergs building. I mean, just an iconic structure that we want to be saving for the next generation to enjoy and live and see how that can all be revitalized. It's a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of people involved, but I'm excited to see this happening.
So investors out there, if you're looking to get in downtown and buy a building, you call me. Then we're going to get with my man Brian here to rehab it for you.
Yeah, yeah.
So man, I could talk to you about business and your path for hours, Brian. But when you think about what you've done for me, I mean, I want to put it out there now. Like you were, you inspire me. You're influential. You've impacted my life. Here I work hard every day trying to find my way, and man, I get a call from you with an opportunity that, man, it's provided so much value to my business and the relationship. I mean, look, here you are now sitting with me. You got me an opportunity to be on the board at the Chamber of Commerce, and man, I can't thank you enough for thinking of me. Out of all the people you could have, and you told me why, and we keep that out where it is. But man, I can't tell you enough that I appreciate you for doing that for me.
Yeah, well, I started to say you're welcome, but you earned that.
Wow.
And I saw something in you.
Wow. And man, things like that are it's why I work hard and continue to work hard to make guys like you that invested in me proud.
Right.
That means a lot to me.
Yeah.
So when you think about your journey and in wrapping up here, who can you think of that you would like to give a shout out today that either inspires you during your path to where you are now, or someone that is giving you guidance or a coach? Who would that person be and why?
Probably my parents. My dad's, he was not a teacher, I wouldn't say, but he gave me opportunities to learn by requiring that I take responsibility. So I think I was about 10. Dad went through a really major shift in his work life. He became a truck driver, and his very first trip, I think he was gone for 2 weeks. We lived on a very small, I guess, according to today's standards, you wouldn't call it a farm. It's a small hobby farm, but we had livestock.
Okay.
And I don't remember Dad sitting me down saying, "Son, I'm going to be gone for 10 days, 12 days, whatever it was.
Here's the task."
Yeah. He didn't lay out all the steps. This is what you got to do. A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3 through 10 every day. Make sure he didn't say that. None of that. It was just expected. it gave me opportunities to become very independent, responsible, and accountable. And the more I think about that through life, that's been very powerful. Again, it's not really what he said,
Yeah.
but what he required and what was expected. It taught me so much, and I really think, looking back, I owe a lot to that life experience, because it's what drives me today to realize, look, nobody's going to do it for you.
Yeah. Sometimes the best lessons are unsaid.
Yeah, but we all have equal opportunities. That really boils down to, are you willing to take the opportunities and make the very most of them? We all have challenges. We all have limitations, but we all do. Let's face that. So how do I work around that? Work with what we do have, and then just be willing to be relentless.
Man, amazing words, amazing inspiration. Man, Brian, I look forward to continue seeing you grow and be an inspiration and be a major part of our community.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to call you my friend. So thank you enough for being here. That wraps up another episode of our show, Diamond Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you next time.